Samson. It's time for your next treatment. Go on now, take it. See, now isn't that nice? Well, since we're friends, I wouldn't want you to feel alone. Don't worry, Samson, I'll be back. I've got to get more medicine from the bunker. Her name is Rio, and she dances on the sand, just like that river. Ah, hello there. Samson, he is hungry like the wolf. He sent me down here to look for more of that morphine that he's been desiring. Here we go. Fantastic. But you know what? Since we're down here, how about we talk about a brand new film that came out on January 16th, 2026. And that film was 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Spike is inducted into Sir Jimmy Crystal's gang of merry men, but soon realizes that being part of the team entails more than just taking out zombies with Power Ranger Flourish. Meanwhile, Dr. Kelson continues his research into the alpha zombies, something that could change how the world views the Rage virus.
Rated R.
As you all know, I just started watching this film series just last year in 2025, and I wasn't overly impressed with them. But let's go ahead and recap my scores for the first 3 films. First, we have the 2003 release of 28 Days Later, the film that began the franchise. Led by Cillian Murphy as Jim, this movie introduced us to the Rage zombies through an incomplete script, earning a 6 out of 10 from me. Next is 28 Weeks Later, that released in 2007. With a new writer and director, the film expanded the world impact of the Rage virus, but a bigger budget couldn't save the nonsensical plot, earning a 5.5 out of 10 from me. Fast forward 18 years to 2025 and another sequel is released, called 28 Years Later. Original director and writer Danny Boyle and Alex Garland return to the franchise, bringing with them the shaky cam and incomplete scripts. Tons of new things are introduced, like alpha zombies, military surveillance, and pregnant zombies, but all without explanation. The movie is beautiful with some good acting, but can't manage to get out of its own way, resulting in a 6 out of 10 from me. And now, just 6 months later, another sequel is here, called 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, or just The Bone Temple for short. Former director Danny Boyle hands over the reins to Nia DaCosta, who does a great job at capturing the visual flair and spiritual essence of the previous films. And thankfully, she ditched those constant shaky cam quick cuts that plagued the previous films. I don't need to watch a movie through a strobe light. Alex Garland penned the script again, and it's still painfully obvious that he does not have a secondary writer. Alex, you should have called me. Anyway, the first thing I notice about The Bone Temple is a shift in character focus. While the previous film focused on Spike, played by Alfie Williams, and his father, Jamie, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, this time we are following the Jimmy Crystal gang and Dr. Kelson. I didn't really understand this shift. If you remember my previous review for 28 Years Later, Spike was a real big highlight of that film. He was a boy coming into his own, learning how to hunt, take care of himself, and standing up for what he believes in. Unfortunately, this time around, Spike is a side character. He has about 20 lines of dialogue throughout the entire film, and we pretty much just see him crying or looking sad. It feels like all of the character development from the previous film was put on the back burner. I think this removed a lot of heart from the film. It's a complete waste of Alfie Williams. Instead, that focus is now on Sir Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell. We were first introduced to his character in 28 Years Later, but as a child. As the virus erupted, he sought shelter with his vicar father in the church. While he did survive, he witnessed his father being torn apart by the Rage zombies. As expected, this devastated his young mind, leading to the twisted adult that we see now. Jimmy believes that he is the son of Satan, or Old Nick as he's referred to in the film. He believes that he can talk directly to him. Jack O'Connell does a fantastic job with this role. He plays the charismatic psychopath with this raw edge, but he also lets that scared little boy on the inside of the character shine through. He will definitely have viewers squirming in their seats. But what is a cult of personality leader without a cult? enter the Seven Fingers of Jimmy. This is the same group that came to Spike's rescue at the end of the previous film. Each one wears a velour tracksuit and a blonde wig. They are all also called Jimmy. You have Jimmy Shite, Jimmy Jones, Jimmy Jimmy, Jimmy Snake, Jimmy Fox, Jimmy Ink, and Jemima. Unfortunately, most of these folks are one-dimensional and boring. They're nuts and nothing else. It shows that these are children of the epidemic. They don't know a world without the rage virus. Though all of this could be on purpose because they are cult members and are meant to fall in line. The exceptions are Jimmy Ink, who seems to care about Spike, and Jemima, who has this crazy whimsical air about her. Jimmy Ink is played by Erin Kellyman. She's good at switching demeanors when needed. I liked her character, though I do wish she had a bit more to work with. Spike is slated to join the Fingers, but first he has to fight one of them to the death in order to take their place. Once this is achieved, the gang sets out to find victims to attack. And boy, do they mean business. There is a scene in a barn that is one of the more graphic displays of violence that I have seen so far this year. The Jimmys commit acts of charity to their victims. But remember that these are followers of Satan, so their acts of charity are the opposite of what you would want. So instead of donating shirts or trousers, they take them from you. And I don't mean the cloth kind, I mean the flesh kind. And they do this to their still living victims. This brutality is on full display and may turn the stomachs of some people. Like Spike's stomach, who wasn't present for any of this, sidelining his character even further. On the other side of the film is a familiar sight, the Bone Temple that we saw in the previous movie. This Memento Mori mausoleum is the creation of Dr. Ian Kelson, played by the impeccable Ralph Fiennes. Kelson continues to gather bodies, reduce them to bones, and add them to the structure. But we also see more of his personal life this time. This film really lets Ralph Fiennes explore this character fully. We see the bunker where he lives, his daily routines, and his tastes in music. Fiennes evokes this calm but steadfast personality. It's another standout performance. Kelson's main focus this time around is trying to connect with the alpha zombie, who he named Samson, that we also saw in the previous film. The two forge a friendship in between morphine doses. Remember that this is a rage virus, which causes the infected to become very violent. So Kelson experiments on Samson, using the drugs and medication that he's stockpiled for the past 28 years. Expiration dates be damned. Samson gets a spotlight here as well. The 6'8" beast of a man is played by the handsome, shy Louis Perry. And I gotta say, he did a good job as well. Obviously, his large size lends itself well to playing an alpha rage zombie, but he was also able to add some needed nuance in there too. You can see how Samson slowly changes throughout the film. It was an unexpected character arc. And those are the two competing storylines of the film. The Jimmys terrorizing people in a barn, and Dr. Kelson forging a bond with Alpha Samson. That's it. We don't see Jamie searching for his missing son. We don't learn anything else about that miracle zombie baby, the military surveying the island, or anything else about the mainland. The story progress of the franchise just kind of halts right here. And again, that's Alex Garland's style of writing. He introduces things and ideas that never go anywhere or are completely forgotten. Now, I actually did like these two competing stories. I like how they are the tonal opposites of each other. The Jimmys are hellbent on tearing apart what little humanity is left in the world, while Kelson is committed to trying to solve the mystery of the rage virus to bring peace back to the world. Each story felt like a palate cleanser for the other one. While the audience was getting nauseous from all of the violence, the film would switch over to Dr. Kelson and his calm voice and his research. And when that got to be a little too saccharine or comedic, we would switch back. It's kind of an emotional whiplash, but I think it was a novel way of dealing with these two very different plots. Unfortunately, even with that good flow, there was still something missing. These two stories felt a little light in the material. They both felt overly extended. While I do think it's important to see the brutality of the Jimmys and Dr. Kelson's research, it felt like too much time was spent on them. I left the theater feeling like I just got done watching two extended deleted scenes instead of a new film. Kelson's story could have been told in a 20 to 25 minute section. While his process was interesting at first, it lingered and resulted in multiple drug trips and dance breaks. There's also a bit of spoon-feeding the audience information. Samson doesn't talk, so Kelson talks to himself, or to us, about every single thing he's doing. And his big scientific revelation feels like something that scientists on the outside world would have discovered decades ago. The same could be said for the Jimmy story. Obviously, showing their unadulterated psychosis is important, but it started to cross over into the torture for the sake of torture territory. And this is because there isn't much else to pull from it. Spike and Jimmy Ink aren't present for it. So it's just the Fingers and Jimmy mutilating people for half the film. Plus, these are just random survivors who were introduced to us for the sole purpose of dying. While you could feel empathy for them, it would have been more effective to have a character that we know, like Spike, expressing the same feelings that we were having while watching. And it's pretty much just this one scene in their story. We don't see them traveling around the countryside or discovering anything else. The final act of the film had these two storylines meeting in a spectacular fashion. It's definitely the scene that people will remember and talk about. I really liked it. I found it to be the perfect merger of the stories. It was over the top and campy, but it still worked super well. I barely blinked because I wanted to absorb all of it. My only complaint is how quickly the conflict that arose during this scene was resolved. It felt really rushed. Like in 2 minutes, everything was resolved. It was unsatisfying. The same goes for the lack of rage zombies throughout the film. You could make the argument that they are missing because their population is dwindling, though that wasn't the case just a few days prior in the previous film. It's even more apparent because the characters are traveling to locations from the previous film. It's obvious that the writer and director wanted to focus on the aforementioned stories, which is perfectly fine. Humanity has always been at the forefront of the zombie genre since its inception, even in this franchise. The military was a real threat in the first 2 movies, and in the third, Spike learns that his father isn't quite the hero that he thought he was. Plus, we saw the remnants of the Jimmy's actions. But I believe there's a better balance to be found between these 2 stories and the threat of the zombies. I mean, why not show us more of the Jimmys fighting zombies like they did in the previous film? Maybe one of them can get infected and they would have to kill one of their own. This could have set up Spike's expectations for the gang better, so he would be more terrified once we got to that barn. But again, Spike doesn't matter in this one. The music matters though. There are thematic swells as usual, but there's also a large focus on 80s music, mostly from Duran Duran and Iron Maiden. The music was used well, adding depth to Dr. Kelson's story, though it could come off a bit too comical for some people. And we do finally get to hear the iconic franchise theme song in all of its raging glory. At the end of the film, there's a not-so-secret glorified cameo of one of the stars of the original film. Apparently, they have also survived for the past 28 years. Personally, I didn't feel much when seeing this character, but I know it will be a huge deal for fans of the franchise. Though the character was talking about the evils of fascism, which might make some snowflakes kind of upset. Woke! And now, my rating. I have been seeing a lot of glowing reviews, and I think that bodes well for the franchise. But for me, I just couldn't shake the feeling that I was watching this bonus special feature from a DVD instead of a film. It felt like a bridge in between movies, as opposed to an entry in the film franchise. Like these 2 stories would be little vignettes they would release to get you hyped up for the next film. And that is why I am giving 28 Years Later The Bone Temple the rage-inducing score of 6.5 out of 10. Though that's the highest score I've given the franchise so far. And that's really because of Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell. But the script still struggles 28 years later. But now the question remains, how will this franchise end with the 5th and final movie? Will there be a cure? Will we learn what happened to the rest of the world? Will we see the zombie baby grow up? Will there be any more alpha zombies? Will we see the military again? Will Jamie ever look for his missing son? Who knows, with Alex Garland writing the script yet again. Call me! Tell me what you think will happen in the franchise down in the comments below. And also what you thought of the Bone Temple. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so we can close out this series together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the dance floor.